The PSE index succumbed to profit-taking on Wednesday after hitting 7,000 intraday as investors start keeping to cash ahead of the long weekend. The PSE index down 0.6% yesterday, closing at 6,900 flat. As we count down to the market open, we want to bring in Jose Miguel Liboro. He is Deputy CIO at ATR Asset Management. Miguel, hi. Welcome to Market Edge.
Hi. Morning, Mimi. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. 7,000 seems like, at least it feels like it's just around the corner. Are you seeing higher conviction now, even after last week's crazy price action?
I think so. We've always been, I guess, on the more bullish end of things for the PSE. And actually, we're looking at a close at 7,400 within reach by the end of the year. Of course, it'll depend largely on what happens tomorrow at Jackson Hole and whether the Fed actually moves in line with what have become consensus expectations of more aggressive than previously expected cuts. But we're quite positive in the market.
You mentioned Jackson Hole. Do you think that the Jackson Hole will give markets a positive tone on balance?
I think so. I think the Fed's got a bit of a balancing act right now in that everybody's expecting them to essentially signal that they will be cutting rates at their upcoming policy meeting in September. But more than that, to signal whether or not what the market is currently pricing in is appropriate. And consensus seems to have shifted towards something between 4 and 5 cuts by the end of the year. We definitely think cuts are coming beginning September, but internally we're looking at something closer to 3 right now. Not to say that those 4th and 5th cuts aren't coming, but we do believe that they'll be coming in 2025. And the reason is because we don't believe that the Fed necessarily wants to send the signal that they missed a step or are starting the easing cycle too late. And if they kind of do too many too soon or too quickly, then it might risk sending that message and roiling markets further.
All right. In the meantime, here at home, we are about a minute into trade for the day. Let me just check the opening numbers. We are trading up, joining most of our Asian peers in the green. The index up by a third of 1%, 23.6923, which puts us at 77 points away from 7,000. All the sub-indices firmly in positive territory except for one, the holding firms, which is trading flat, tilted to the downside, off by just 2 points. I wonder, when you look at the local markets, is the risk reward still in the index issues, or are you seeing more value now in small caps, perhaps the second and third liners?
I think right now where we're at, it's certainly still in the blue chips, in the frontliners, just because from a foreign flow standpoint, although thankfully we finally started to see a little bit of that resumption, we definitely expect that there would be more to come. And that particular tide will lift the index stocks or blue chips first and foremost. After that initial move, certainly there are a lot of second liner stocks that can be considered. But in an initial move, I would definitely say that blue chips have the higher probability of moving first.
And when the foreign money comes flowing back into the Philippines, where is that money coming from? Where is that money exiting for it to enter Philippine markets?
Well, it would depend on the asset allocator. But I think, just broadly speaking, a lot of the interest has been in fixed income abroad just because the U.S. has retained a reasonably high rate. And when you're getting 5.5, 6 in the U.S., why move elsewhere? That started to unprice. 10-year treasuries have actually hit their 3.8% level, a pretty significant trading technical level. It's poised to break right through that, depending on what happens at the Jackson Hole tomorrow. But we think it's going to break through and then probably struggle as you approach the next technical level, which is around 3.5. So when rates start moving lower outside, the relative attractiveness of our own risk markets and our own fixed income markets will start to increase and kind of overpower what has been over the last few years, staying in the safety of the developed economies or developed risk markets.
All right. In general, though, when you look at the calendar, do you expect September to be tumultuous for risk asset holders?
I think just because of everything that's in play right now, we are expecting a little bit of volatility. Don't get me wrong, our medium-term view is definitely still bullish, both on fixed income and for equities. But as I mentioned earlier, the Fed has a bit of a balancing act right now, and any short-term miscommunication or risk of a can risk an overreaction. But again, we believe those things are short-term blips, and on balance, I would certainly rather be invested than uninvested right now.
All right. Very quickly, second quarter earnings season has wrapped up, so it's pretty quiet on the disclosures front, but we do have this just in. SFA Semicon Philippines is going to be on voluntary trading suspension from today, August 22, through August 26, because that's going to be lifted by 9 a.m. August 27. This is in light of their announcement of the intention to make a tender offer for all outstanding shares held by shareholders, except for those owned by board members, in with respect to their qualifying common shares, for the purpose of voluntarily delisting the company from the main board of the PSC. We also know that SFA Korea intends to do the tender offer at the price of 2 pesos and 22 centavos per share. They're saying this price is higher than one, the highest valuation of the company's shares based on fairness opinion, and two, then the volume weighted average price of the company's shares for 1 year immediately preceding the date of the letter of intent to delist. We've seen names, several of them already heading out the door, preferring not to be listed, taking the companies private. How should we make sense of a story like this?
Well, as you've mentioned, we've seen this quite a few times over the last few years. So I'll try to tackle the question broadly. Certainly from a market standpoint, I think is a net negative when you kind of send the signal that a lot of, or not a lot, but names can just kind of exit the market and go private again. So just from a foreign interest standpoint, I certainly would think that that's a bit of a flag with respect to potential liquidity, and that particular issue they might tend to paint the whole market with it. So I guess I would say that every company has to consider its own idiosyncratic risks and gains when making this decision, but broadly it certainly doesn't do the market any favors.
And so we're seeing exits of names leaving the public market sphere, but very few names coming into the public market sphere. Very few IPOs so far, just three this year. Are there how many more listings are you excited about that you're confident will actually materialize in the next 6 to 12 months? Are you excited by any in particular, any name that stands out for you?
I guess rather than focusing on a specific name, I will say that over the last few years, the PSE has kind of lowered the barriers to entry to encourage smaller companies with strong metrics to list and participate in the public markets. So that's certainly something that we support and applaud. And I guess to your question, or to your point on why we haven't really seen as many new entrants into the market over the last couple of years, is really more due to the condition the market has been in. It's been very volatile until recently. Not a lot of activity in the local bourse. We did peak, unfortunately, at the first quarter, and then we gave a little bit of that back. But happy to see that we're on the right track and kind of moving back forward. So I guess given our view, by next year, we hope to see that this greater positivity or positive sentiment in the market will encourage further listings, and for those listings to be successful.
And for them to attract attention, of course. At 7,400 end of this year, you are betting that we're going to snap, 4 years of negative returns for the PSE index. We're going to hold you to that. Miguel, thank you so much for taking our call. Thank you for the insights and the time. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Mimi. Thank you.